I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sex.
The 2026 Motogp test at the Brno circuit once again exposed a fact that has been a major challenge for Yamaha. Although the bike's performance is increasingly competitive in cornering and braking, the issue of top speed on the straights remains a major obstacle for the Japanese manufacturer. The most vocal figure in this regard was new Yamaha rider TOPRAK Razgatlioglu. In the latest test session in Brno, TOPRAK expressed his satisfaction with the Yamaha V4's continued improvement. However, he also emphasized that one weakness is still preventing Yamaha from competing with its rivals, particularly Ducati, KTM, and Aprilia. This weakness is its significantly lagging straight-line speed. According to TOPRAK, when entering braking areas and fast corner sequences, Yamaha is actually able to keep up with the pace of the leading riders. In fact, in certain sections, the blue bike appears to be able to close the gap very effectively. However, once entering the long straights, the rivals pull away again, rendering any pursuit futile. The Turkish rider explained that the most challenging situation isn't chasing down opponents. He feels Yamaha is now good enough to keep up with the bikes in front. The biggest problem arose when overtaking. When behind a rival's bike, Yamaha lost momentum because its power and acceleration at the end of the straight weren't enough to easily complete the overtake. TOPRAK described this situation as having a strong defensive weapon, but not enough sharpness to attack. He could close the gap in corners, but when attempting to overtake, his rival regained a significant advantage thanks to his higher top speed. As a result, Yamaha riders often had to take greater risks under braking to gain position. That's why TOPRAK came with some important input to Yamaha's engineers during the Brno test. His main focus was improving initial acceleration and power in the mid to high rev range. He believed that if Yamaha could find just a few extra kilometers per hour on the straight, the bike would become a very competitive package. TOPRAK believes the solution Yamaha is working on is on the right track. He even called the progress made during the Brno test one of the biggest advances he's seen since joining the Yamaha Motogp project. However, he urged everyone to be patient, as the process of developing a new engine doesn't work overnight. And here is the full news. The 2026 Motogp test at the Brno circuit was one of the most crucial moments for Yamaha this season. Amidst the Japanese manufacturer's significant efforts to return to the top, various new components were tested, including the latest developments to the V4 engine project, which has been the focus of attention in the Motogp paddock for the past few months. However, despite the growing optimism, one issue remained unresolved. Yamaha was still struggling to keep up with its rivals when entering straightaways. Yamaha rider TOPRAK Razgatlioglu was one of the people who provided the most input during the test. The former Superbike world champion completed dozens of laps with various bike configurations to help engineers understand the strengths and weaknesses of Yamaha's latest package. The results were quite interesting. TOPRAK admitted that the Yamaha bike was now much better than at the start of the season, but still lagged behind in terms of top speed. According to TOPRAK, Yamaha's main problem was no longer the bike's ability to keep up with the pace of its competitors. In some areas, particularly braking and fast corners, Yamaha was even able to reduce the gap very effectively. He feels the bike is now more stable entering corners, has better balance when changing direction, and is able to maintain a high minimum speed mid-corner. However, once exiting the corner and onto the long straight, the story changes drastically. Ducati, KTM and Aprilia are able to leverage their engine power to regain the gap. A difference of a few kilometers per hour in top speed may seem small in numbers, but on a modern MotoGP track, it can have a huge impact. TOPRAK explained that he can often catch the bike in front when entering the braking zone. In some race simulations, He was even able to reduce the gap by several tenths of a second in just one corner. However, when trying to overtake, the Yamaha loses this advantage because the opponent pulls away again on the straight. This situation makes overtaking much more complicated. A rider must not only be faster than their opponent, but also have enough acceleration to complete the maneuver before entering the next corner. If the engine power is still lacking, the rider will be forced to take greater risks under braking. TOPRAK said that Yamaha now has an excellent foundation. The bike is capable of turning quickly, has increased grip, and provides a high level of confidence under hard braking. However, these strengths are not enough to offset its shortcomings in acceleration and top speed. That's why, during the Brno test, Yamaha's primary focus was not only on aerodynamics or electronics, but also on how to improve engine performance when exiting corners. Engineers tried various settings to achieve more aggressive power without sacrificing the bike's stability. Interestingly, TOPRAK was said to be very active in discussions with the engineers after each session. He provided very detailed reports on the bike's behavior at various points on the circuit, from the engine's character when opening the throttle response in slow corners, to how the bike reacts when slipstreamed behind a rival. All of this information is crucial for Yamaha in determining the direction of its next development. The Brno circuit itself is considered an ideal place to test a bike's true capabilities. The track features a combination of fast corners, hard braking, elevation changes, and long straights. Therefore, the bike's strengths and weaknesses are clearly visible. In several technical areas, the Yamaha appears capable of competing with the best bikes on the grid. In fact, some data shows that Yamaha's time loss in corners has decreased significantly compared to last season. This is proof that the engineer's hard work is starting to pay off. Unfortunately, when comparing top speed data, Yamaha still lags behind Ducati and KTM. This is TOPRAK's main concern. He believes that if Yamaha can find the right power boost, they will have a complete motorcycle package. TOPRAK even stated that the current performance difference is not as large as many people imagine. According to him, Yamaha is no longer that far behind. The problem is that modern MotoGP is at such a tight level of competition that even small gains can make a big difference on the track. A single km/h increase in speed may seem insignificant to spectators. However, for MotoGP riders, that figure can be the difference between successfully overtaking or being stuck behind their opponents throughout the race. Therefore, every step of the way a small tailpipe becomes crucial. Optimism began to emerge in the Yamaha garage following the results of the Brno test. The engineers felt the chosen development direction was correct. The latest V4 engine showed promising potential. The bike's character was increasingly close to what the riders desired. Traction improved, stability under braking improved, and acceleration also began to show improvement. However, Yamaha realized their work was not yet complete. Ducati remained the primary benchmark. The Italian manufacturer continued to demonstrate dominance thanks to its highly sophisticated combination of engine power, aerodynamics, and electronics. To beat Ducati, Yamaha needed to continue accelerating its development process. TOPRAK's presence had a significant impact on this process. His experience as a rider who relies heavily on braking and motorcycle control helped Yamaha understand which areas needed improvement first. His input during the Brno test was considered invaluable, as he was able to clearly and directly identify problems. If Yamaha successfully implements TOPRAK's suggested solutions in the coming months, the balance of power in MotoGP could shift. They are now able to catch up with their opponents in corners. The next step is to ensure the bike has enough power to complete attacks on the straights. Yamaha fans will certainly hope that these improvements will be seen soon in racing. If the straight-line speed issue is resolved, it's possible that TOPRAK will pose a serious threat to Ducati, KTM, and Aprilia riders in the second half of the 2026 season. The Brno test may have been just a testing session, but the message from it was clear. Yamaha has made significant progress. They are now able to catch up with their rivals. However, to return to challenging for the world title, they still need to solve one final puzzle: how to transform their chasing ability into overtaking ability. And of all the people in the Yamaha garage right now, TOPRAK Razgatlioglu seems to be the one who best understands what needs to be done to achieve this. If his proposed solution truly works, then rivals should start to watch out. Because Yamaha, which has struggled on the straight so far, could soon become a major force in MotoGP again.